Being in the wrong place can lead to trouble. I didn't intend for this to happen. While waiting at a red light, a guy pulled up beside me. He signaled for me to lower my window. "You have a flat tire," he informed me. I thanked him and pulled into the Walmart parking lot on the right. Getting out, I saw a screw stuck in the tire tread, causing air to leak out slowly. What's next? I decided to head inside and grab a can of that slime stuff. When I returned, I removed the screw. Big mistake. Air started hissing out even faster. I quickly screwed it back in and got some air at the gas station nearby. I was only 15 miles away from home, and I planned to keep checking the tire. If it got too low, I'd use the can of slime. About 5 miles from home, I noticed the tire getting really low in the driver's side mirror. I stopped at a convenience store, but they didn't have air. It was time to try out the slime. I poured it in, and some green goo came out. I guess they call it slime for a reason, but at least the hissing stopped. As I was about to get back in my car, I noticed a pickup truck pulling in. It was one of those huge ones with massive tires. The guy must have been compensating for something. I remembered seeing that truck before. The door opened, and a tall blonde guy stepped out wearing cowboy boots and a giant belt buckle. I chuckled to myself, but it faded when I saw who got out of the passenger side, a beautiful woman with raven-colored hair. I knew her instantly. It was Rachel, my wife of the past 18 years. What a shock. Parked to the side, they never even noticed my car. It was a company car. One of those small imports, not very eye-catching, I suppose. They walked into the store hand in hand, and she was giggling at something he said. It felt like a punch to the stomach. I couldn't breathe or move. I just stood there feeling foolish. Then it hit me where I'd seen the guy before. He worked at the same place as Rachel. She managed an office at a mental health clinic, and he was one of the caseworkers. I'd seen his truck at their office. The big question was, what was Rachel doing with him? His name finally came to me, Jerry Garner. But why wasn't Rachel at work? I was determined to find out. I got back in the car and waited. When they came out of the store, he helped her into the car, carrying cups of coffee. They drove off, and I discreetly followed. They ended up at our house, and he parked in the garage. The garage door closed, and I lost sight of them. I waited for 30 minutes, but my anxiety about the tire kept me on edge. I kept checking it, but if it was losing air, I couldn't tell. 2 hours later, the garage door opened again, and they drove past me. I held up a file folder to hide my face, but I doubt they would have noticed me anyway. They were so caught up in each other. Rachel didn't finish work until 5, and it was only 2:30. I had plenty of time. My first step was to go inside and investigate. I had to pick up Toby at 4, and I had no clue what to say to her. Toby was my 15-year-old daughter. I didn't know what I'd discover inside, but hopefully I'd find some answers. Inside, everything was quiet. I could hear the dripping from the faucet in Toby's bathroom, a reminder of a repair I needed to make. Other than that, the only sound was the whisper of air from the vents. I looked around, but everything seemed normal. Upstairs, the bed was made with fresh sheets. My heart sank. I leaned against the wall and slid down to the floor. I felt numb. There seemed to be only one explanation that made sense. I must have sat there for 30 minutes, my mind racing in circles. I couldn't make sense of my thoughts. It felt like I was drugged. My stomach churned, and I grabbed a Sprite to settle it. Feeling sweaty and overheated, I returned to the bathroom. I rummaged through the vanity for a washcloth, soaked it in the sink, and splashed cold water on my face. After washing up, I felt a bit refreshed. Then I noticed something odd. The shower floor was wet. They had showered before heading back to work. Stunned, I stumbled back into the bedroom and sat on the bed's edge in a daze, realizing it was the same bed my wife and her lover had just left. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks, and I recoiled in horror. This was where it all happened. I was at a loss for what to do next. Of course, divorcing Rachel was a given. But beyond that, I was clueless. I didn't know any lawyers, had no idea about the legal process, and I still had to pick Toby up from school. Toby, what was I going to say to her? I dragged myself out to the car, feeling like I'd been on a 10-day bender. My head was pounding, and I looked terrible. I wasn't fit to drive, but I couldn't leave Toby waiting. It suddenly hit me. She was the only stable thing in my life. My daughter was my rock, and I had to make sure she'd be okay. Whatever I decided to do, it had to be with her well-being in mind. As I pulled up in the car line, I spotted her waiting at the school doors. She walked towards the car, radiating beauty that tugged at my heartstrings. Toby inherited her mother's dark, almost Mediterranean complexion and hair. Her eyes were something else, deep brown with hints of gold and streaks of green like her mother's. The doctor called them hazel, but they were truly unique. She was tall, taking after me, with long legs and a natural beauty. After tossing her backpack in the back, she hopped into the car and leaned in to give me a kiss, but stopped short. "Dad, what's up?" she asked, concern lacing her voice. "Are you okay? Did something happen? Is Mom all right? What's going on?" "I'm fine, kitten," I assured her. "No one's hurt or sick. But I need to talk to you, Toby. Let's head to the park, and I'll explain everything. Just let me hold you and talk, okay? Hold off on the questions until we're there." "Sure, Dad, but you're freaking me out," she admitted. "I know, kitten, but trust me, everything's going to be all right," I reassured her, hoping it wasn't just wishful thinking. It only took us a short drive to reach the park. I'd pushed her on those swings countless times. Rachel and I had sat together on the benches, watching her play. It was hard not to reminisce about the happier times. Would that be all there was to my life from now on? Just memories of better days. We strolled over to a bench, hand in hand, swinging our arms like we always did since she was small, just learning to walk. Sitting down, I struggled to find the right words. "Just lay it out, Dad," she urged. "I can take it." "I'm not sure I can," I admitted. But then the words just spilled out. I told her everything, the whole story, every emotion I was going through. Tears streamed down my face. Through it all, she held my hand, offering comfort. When I finally ran out of words, she nestled close to me. "Sounds rough, Dad," she said softly. "We should head home and talk to Mom. Everything hinges on what she says. It seems bad, but there's still a lot we don't know. We gotta hear her out." I planted a kiss on her head, feeling proud. My kid was braver than I ever was. She tugged on my hand, signaling it was time to go. "Want to drive?" I offered. Her eyes lit up. She'd just got her learner's permit. A shadow passed over her eyes as she hesitated, but it quickly faded. She drove carefully home, and Rachel's car was in the garage. It was time to face the music. She greeted us at the door with hugs and kisses, acting as if she hadn't done anything wrong. It was either the performance of a lifetime or I had completely misjudged the situation. "You guys want takeout tonight?" she offered. "It's on me." "I think we need to talk to you, Mom," Toby said. "Sure. Everything okay?" she asked, looking concerned. "I'm not sure," Toby replied. "Let's see." We entered, and I settled on the couch next to Toby, leaving Rachel to sit in her favorite but ugly chair. "What's going on?" she inquired, showing no hint of worry. "How was your day?" I asked. She gave me a puzzled look. "Just the usual," she replied. "Had lunch from the onion bin, thanks to a pills rep. It was hectic as always. Why do you ask?" "So, you were at the office all day?" Toby questioned. "Sure," she replied. "Why all the questions? What's happening?" "So you weren't with Jerry Garner here at the house this afternoon?" I questioned. Her face turned pale. "No way," she insisted. "Are you accusing me, Oliver?" "I saw you," I asserted. "What? You didn't see anything," she started to stammer. "What's your angle?" "He's lying, Toby. I was at work all day. You can check with Angel." "No, I believe him, Mom," Toby interjected. "I think you're lying. I won't ask Angel. She'd cover for you. I'll call David Jones. He's your boss, right? I trust he won't cover for you. What's his number?" "He's gone for the day," Rachel responded. "I'll have him call you tomorrow. What's going on with you two? Trying to trick me? You think you can come here and trip me up? What exactly are you accusing me of?" She seemed to think a strong offense was her best defense. "I think you got caught in your own lie," I said to her. "You lied, Rachel. All three of us know it. Why'd you do that?" I could see her thinking hard. "Okay, I was here," she admitted. "This is why I didn't want to tell you. I knew you'd grill me and try to pin something on me." "No one's pinning anything on you," Toby clarified. "But I am now. You tried to make me think Dad's a liar. You tried to make him look bad to cover up your lie. What are you hiding, Mom? Are you cheating with that guy?" "You don't know him," Rachel protested. "Why call him a guy?" "I've met him twice," Toby argued. "The way he looks at me creeps me out. But that's not the point. Are you having an affair with him?" Rachel glanced between us, looking trapped. "I didn't want it to go like this," she confessed. "I wasn't ready." "Ready for what?" Toby pressed. "I've fallen for Jerry," she confessed. She looked at me. "I'm sorry, Oliver. It just happened. We work closely together, you know. He was just, I don't know, he feels like my other half. We clicked and I couldn't stop it. We're in love. I was going to tell you when we were ready. As soon as we both divorce, we'll marry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want you to find out like this. Toby, things will be okay. You'll still see your dad whenever. Jerry has a nice place by the lake. He has a daughter too, you know. He likes you and will be happy. Are you crazy? Toby practically yelled. I'm not living with that jerk. He might sneak into my room at night. I'll see Dad whenever I want because I'm moving in with him. You're the one I won't be seeing. How could you? She stormed upstairs to her room and locked the door. Rachel glanced at me. She'll calm down, she said. Jerry's a good guy, Oliver, you'll see. I need to be happy. Jerry makes me happy, and that's that. I just stared at her. Who was she? It felt like she'd been replaced. I wasn't going to argue with someone so unstable. Whatever, Rachel, I replied. When are you leaving? Leaving? She asked. I'm not. I've got nowhere to go. Jerry's married, and we have to tell his wife before we do anything. We'll all need divorces and sort out the settlement first. No, you're leaving, I insisted. You've got 3 days. Her mouth fell open. What are you talking about? You can't kick me out of my own house. If anyone should leave, it's you. I think you're forgetting something, I stated. This is my house. I owned it before we met. It was fully paid for and in my name before we even got married. The house isn't a shared asset. It's solely mine. My name is on the deed, not yours. So, no, you're the one who's moving out of my house. Where am I supposed to go? She questioned. Are you just kicking me to the curb? I really don't care where, I replied. Maybe you could find a room at a motel. Perhaps one of those places you can rent by the hour, you know, where cheaters go. Tears welled up in her eyes. That's really hurtful, Oliver, she said. There's no need for name-calling. I didn't plan to fall for Jerry. It just happened. We connected and I felt I had to be with him. I didn't mean to hurt you. Ah, so it was an accidental hurt, I retorted. Like tripping and poking your eye out with a stick while running, as Mom always warned. I get it now. Well then, I guess it's all fine since it was an accident. You don't have to be so sarcastic, she responded. Why can't you accept that Jerry and I are in love, Oliver? Gee, I don't know, Rachel, I said sarcastically. Maybe because this morning you told me you loved me. Now you're claiming to love him. I'm just a bit confused, I guess. I still love you, Oliver, she said. I'll always love you. I'm just in love with Jerry now. Well, that clears things up, I replied. You've been telling me for 18 years that you were in love with me, Rachel. I thought that's why we got married. We were in love. Guess I was wrong. No, we were in love. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. You've got 3 days, Rachel. If you're not gone by then, I'll have the sheriff kick you out and toss your stuff in the driveway. Please, Oliver, she pleaded, now scared. It doesn't have to be like this. We can still be friends. Jerry wants to be your friend too. We have Toby to consider. I love you and I don't want to lose you as a friend. We've been together too long to just throw it away. I just stared at her. All the sadness and loss I felt started to fade, replaced by searing anger. You must be out of your mind, Rachel, I said. Friends? With you? With that jerk? I don't think so. Tell him that if he sees me, it should be brief just before he runs off. And as for you, you're the enemy now. I'm burning down your house. 3 days. Then I never want to see your cheating self again. I'll call a lawyer in the morning, and you'll get your divorce as fast as possible. I went to the bedroom, leaving her there making noise. It was just background chatter to me. She followed me around, still going on about being friends, while I moved her stuff into the spare bedroom. There were more clothes than I could carry, so I just piled them on her, took an armful to the spare room, and hung them in the closet. She trailed behind me. She lingered for a while, talking and watching me. When she went to hang up the clothes, I took the chance to slip away and lock the bedroom door. I heard her in the hallway, trying the knob. Then she left. After a few minutes, Toby texted me. You doing okay, Dad? Yeah, kitten, you? I replied. Not yet, but I will be, she said. All right, love you, I sent. Text me if you need anything. Can you take me to school in the morning? She asked. I don't want to ride with her. Sure thing. I crawled into bed and lay there for hours, trying to sort out what to do. I must have dozed off around 3, and then my phone alarm woke me. I got up, showered, and called my boss. I explained I was getting a divorce and needed a few days off. He was understanding, said to take all the time I needed, and express sympathy. I made some coffee, had a couple of cups, and cooked breakfast for Toby and me. She came downstairs right on schedule, looking as lovely as ever, and devoured her breakfast. Rachel eventually came in and grabbed a coffee. She tried to talk to us, but we ignored her. It was time to take Toby to school, and Rachel asked if she was ready. Toby glanced at Rachel, then turned to me and asked, You ready, Dad? I jingled the keys, and she grabbed her backpack. Sure, you can act like toddlers if you want, Rachel remarked. She stormed off, grabbed her purse, shot us one more glare, and left. I dropped Toby off at school, and she kissed me before heading in. I sat in the car, watching her disappear into the building. My mind drifted to my friend Dan, who had recently gone through a divorce. I decided to give him a call and ask about his attorney. Dan didn't recommend his lawyer, but suggested I use his wife's attorney instead. He gave me the name, and I found the number. When I called, a woman answered and scheduled me for that afternoon. I took action to protect our finances, like lowering the credit card limits to $500. It would cramp my style too, but I wasn't about to fund Rachel's affair. My meeting with Elizabeth Baxter didn't start well. She assumed I was leaving Rachel for someone else. "You've got it wrong," I corrected her. "She's been cheating with a coworker who's also married, and they plan to divorce their spouses and marry each other." "I'm sorry," she said. "I can't represent someone involved in that kind of situation. It goes against my principles." "I get it," I replied. "We have a daughter. I want to protect her from the fallout. Is there a chance I could get custody of her?" "It's possible," she acknowledged. "In theory, either parent has a shot at custody. But in reality, fathers, especially for girls, rarely get custody. How old is she, and does she want to live with you?" "She's 15, and she said she wants to be with me," I answered. "That counts a lot in court," she assured. "In our state, kids over 14 can choose, and younger ones' preferences matter too. Given her age and desire to stay with you, it should work out in your favor." "Just do your best," I said, concluding the conversation. Driving home, I pondered my next steps. I knew I had to act within the law. Getting into trouble could cost me custody of Toby, and I wasn't taking that risk. I needed to plan carefully, considering every option and potential consequence. I suspected Jerry's wife was unaware, like me, so the first move would be informing her. I decided to make a list outlining my strategy. I was definitely going to inform her family. Her parents had always been fond of me, and they adored Toby, so I knew it was crucial to let them know first. But I wasn't sure how to approach it. Ensuring that all our friends were aware was also a priority, and I figured I could stir up enough attention on social media to shake things up. That was at the top of my to-do list. Rachel had a Facebook account for our family. I was familiar with it, used Messenger frequently, and knew my way around. After some online searching, I discovered that Jerry's wife had a similar online presence. I took screenshots of some pictures and posted on Rachel's page that we were splitting up, and she had found her soulmate in Jerry, along with a photo of him. Then, I changed the password and logged out. It felt satisfying. I wondered how long it would take before her friends and family bombarded her phone and Facebook page. I hoped Jerry's wife would get the message. I didn't know her, and I felt a twinge of guilt about the upheaval she would face, but I believed she'd prefer knowing the truth rather than being kept in the dark. I called Mom. The conversation didn't go well, as expected, but beyond her initial shock, she assured me she'd tell Dad and that they were there for me no matter what. I decided to let Rachel handle informing her parents. We had a close relationship, and I didn't want to be the cause of any family rift. Plus, I had no clue how to broach the topic with them. Somehow, "Your daughter is cheating" didn't seem like the right message. They might blame the messenger instead. The situation escalated quickly. Around 2 p.m., Rachel's name popped up on my phone screen. I picked up, and she was furious. "You jerk!" Her first words gave me a strange sense of satisfaction. "You couldn't just leave it alone, could you? I know you locked me out of Facebook. Remove that stuff. Jerry's wife is clueless. My friends won't stop calling, asking what's up. Even my parents know. Oliver, I'm telling you, take it down." "Nope, you don't get to call the shots," I fired back. "What? Are you acting like a 5-year-old? Take it down, Oliver. I'm serious." "Why should I?" I challenged. "You should be thrilled. This way everyone can get used to you and your soulmate. Are you ashamed of people knowing you cheated, Rachel?" "I'm not—" She stopped, realizing how ridiculous that sounded. "Oliver, please just take it down. This isn't how it was supposed to go." "You lost any say in how things go the moment you cheated," I reminded her. "You've forfeited any right to my respect or even basic courtesy. I've made it clear, you're the enemy now, Rachel. Deal with it." I hung up. My phone buzzed again right away, but I ignored it. It was time to pick up Toby. I filled Toby in on my conversation with Elizabeth Baxter. While she was relieved she'd likely be with me, she wasn't pleased overall. "What's up with her, Dad?" she asked. "I care about her, but she's always been a bit off. She never seemed like a grown-up. Not like you, anyway. It's like you have 2 kids, her and me. Ever notice that?" "Not like that," I replied. Now that you mention it, she's always been kind of impulsive, but that's just who she is. I never expected her to do something like this. Well, we'll just have to deal with it the best we can, she said. Dad, I never want to be alone in the same house with that creep without you there. Whatever it takes, make sure that doesn't happen, okay? I'll do everything I can, I assured her. We grabbed pizza on the way home, and as I was enjoying my second slice, my phone buzzed. It was Bob, Rachel's dad. I wasn't looking forward to this. I told Toby who it was, and she suggested putting it on speaker. Bob didn't waste time. Oliver, I'm not sure what's going on, but Rachel showed up here last night asking if she could stay with us. Care to explain? Did you ask her? I inquired. She mentioned you kicked her out. Well, I did, but did she explain why? I retorted. No, she said she would later, he replied. Are you sure you want to hear her side? I queried. Can't you just tell me? He pressed. She's been having an affair with Jerry Garner, a co-worker. He's planning to divorce his wife. She was planning to divorce me, and now they're together, I explained. What? That's unbelievable, Oliver. How do you know? He questioned. I caught them together yesterday, I stated, and she confirmed it. Are you sure there's no misunderstanding? He persisted. Toby chimed in. Hi, Grandpa. I've been listening. Dad has you on speaker. There's no misunderstanding. I was there when she told him. I'm sorry, Grandpa. I love you. Her voice broke, and he heard it. When he spoke again, his tone was strained. Don't cry, sweetheart. Please, stay strong, okay? Grandma and I love you dearly. I'll try to talk some sense into your mom. Oliver, you still there? Yeah, I'm sorry, Bob. Don't worry about Toby. You both are her grandparents, and that's never going to change. I know you care about Rachel, and you'll do what you need to do. I have so much respect for you, more than I can express. I hope you won't hold any hard feelings against me once this is all over. That's not going to happen, he assured me. I'll get to the bottom of this. Call me if you need anything. It went better than I thought it would. Life throws curveballs, and you just do your best to handle them. I won't delve into the nitty-gritty of the divorce proceedings. Most folks are familiar with the ordeal. It was drawn out, painful, and it didn't get any easier. Rachel seemed to have unrealistic expectations. She thought she'd get custody of Toby, but that didn't happen. Miss Baxter proved to be as competent as they come. I was granted full custody thanks to Toby's wish to live with me. After a private meeting with Toby, the judge ruled that Rachel could have visitation rights, but not unsupervised time with Toby and Jerry Garner. But that soon became irrelevant. His wife divorced him, and it turned out their soulmate connection wasn't as solid as they thought. 2 weeks after I discovered their affair, he was off chasing someone else. All those big plans vanished into thin air. It took 7 months for the divorce to be finalized. Rachel had a change of heart. I was surprised when, during our second court appearance, she requested counseling. Neither I nor Miss Baxter could sway her decision, and the judge ordered it. We were scheduled for 8 to 10 sessions. We ended up with this odd old hippie guy. In our first session, we had to lay out our goals. Rachel's was a long, tangled mess. It seemed like she believed the universe revolved around her happiness and that she didn't mean any harm, just wanted to be happy. Mine was way simpler. What's your aim for these sessions, Mr. Berriman? He asked. I just want them to be over, I replied. Our guide frowned. Mr. Berriman, don't you want to address the issues that led to the end of your marriage? Sorry, Mr. Rodman, but those issues weren't mine, and I have zero interest in addressing them. I'm content with who I am, flaws and all. Rachel and Mr. Guru seemed equally shocked by my response. Rachel jumped in, determined. Oliver, how can we move forward if you won't even talk about this? We're not going back, I said firmly. Let me be clear. I don't care about going back to how things were or fixing anything. I'm only here because the court ordered it. Once that's done, we'll finalize our divorce. That's my plan. Do you realize that if I tell the judge you're not cooperating, you could be held in contempt? Mr. Spirit Guide warned. I wasn't aware of that, I responded. Are you suggesting you'd lie to the judge? These sessions are recorded. My lawyer could subpoena the recordings and expose your dishonesty. I'm here doing what you ask. You asked for my goals, and I told you. So I am cooperating. He looked embarrassed. The judge probably expected you to try resolving your issues, he remarked. I'm not responsible for the judge's expectations, I clarified. I'm only accountable for mine. He made things tough. He gave me homework, which included spending a lot of time with Rachel, who tried hard to wear me down. "What's it going to take for you to call off the divorce and work things out?" she asked. "An act of God," I replied. She waited for me to elaborate, but I stayed silent. "What do you mean by an act of God?" she pressed. "Well, unless you can turn back time and undo your affair with Jerry, nothing will change," I explained. "I haven't heard of anyone other than God having that power. Have you developed some hidden powers, Rachel? Besides, the power to attract other men with your charms." We endured through tedious exercises and meaningless talks until they were finally over. We returned to court, and the judge inquired if there had been any progress. "Your Honor, my client has no intention of staying married to his wife," Elizabeth Baxter stated. "We request that this divorce be finalized quickly. My client and his daughter have endured this process long enough." It seems the judge agreed because 10 days later, the divorce decree arrived in the mail. Toby spent a lot of time with her mother, especially since she enjoyed being with her grandparents. Rachel occasionally made plans with Toby, but their relationship wasn't the same. Toby mostly hung out with her friends, particularly one named Sabrina, who practically lived with us. Sabrina was adorable and kind, and I enjoyed having her around. They started including me in their activities. One of their favorite things to do was water skiing. Since we had a boat, we often spent Saturdays at nearby lakes during summer vacation. On a Monday, they asked if we could go to the lake for the weekend in our RV. Since I didn't have many plans, I thought it was a great idea. Toby and Sabrina spent the week planning, and we packed everything they needed on Thursday. On Friday afternoon, a new red Jeep Cherokee pulled into our driveway, and Sabrina got out. Another woman, nearly identical to her, came out of the driver's side, and Toby rushed to hug her. Toby introduced her to me, saying, "Dad, this is Julie. She's Sabrina's mom, and I know you haven't met her yet." Julie reached out her hand. "Hey, Oliver. The girls have talked a lot about you. Thanks for inviting me along this weekend. Honestly, I've been a tad jealous they spend so much time with you instead of me." She grinned mischievously, and I instantly understood why her daughter was so charming. When I glanced at Toby, she shot me a fierce look. My knees wobbled, and I knew it was time to give in. The wobbling got worse when I looked at Sabs, and she raised an eyebrow. "It's going to be fun," I told Julie, finding my voice again. "We always have a blast." She caught on fast. She glanced between me and the girls, then back at me. "Oh my God," she exclaimed. "You didn't know, did you? Girls!" Before she could say more, she was engulfed in hugs, kisses, and pleas. "Please, Mom. Don't worry. We'll have a great time," Sabrina reassured her. "It's fine, Julie. Dad will like you as much as I do, and he's awesome," Toby chimed in. "See how he's going along with it?" She unraveled from the girls and assessed them. "You two, go sit on the porch. I need to talk to Oliver," she instructed. They hesitated, but she insisted, "Now!" They obeyed and hurried off. "I'm really sorry, Oliver. I had no clue," she apologized. "I'm taking Sabs and leaving. She's grounded for a month. This is so embarrassing." She seemed small and embarrassed, so I stepped forward and hugged her. At first, she tensed, but then relaxed. "Yeah, it's embarrassing," I agreed. "They're naughty, but harmless. Let me guess. You're not married?" She chuckled, looking up at me. Man, she was adorable. "Nope, I'm not. You think that's what this is about?" "I'm pretty sure," I replied. "Here's the deal. You're all set. Weekend cleared. Lake's gonna be awesome. I'm not a bad guy. You've seen that with Toby around. Let's go with it. It'll be a blast. And who knows, we might surprise them a bit. What do you say?" She stepped back, glanced at the girls eagerly waiting, and agreed. "Yeah, let's do it." I gave them a thumbs up, and they sprang up excitedly, rushing to join us. I heard Toby's enthusiastic "Yeet!" as she came out. I halted them, taking one girl under each arm. "Ladies, that wasn't cool," I admonished. Sabs looked up at me and laughed in her best Skeletor impression. "I am not nice." We all cracked up, and I couldn't keep a straight face. They were just too cute and innocent. "You know what you're up to," I scolded gently. "Cut it out, seriously. You can't go meddling in other people's lives." "But I love Jules, and I wanted you to meet her," Toby defended. "Well, you could have just told me," I reasoned. She looked a bit crestfallen. "It's okay, kitten. Just don't pull this stunt again," I reassured her. Her face lit up again. Sabs tugged at my arm. "Come on, let's go. I'm psyched. This is going to be awesome, Oliver. Just wait." Julie chuckled. "I think that's supposed to mean really cool, Oliver. But she's right. We're wasting daylight." We grabbed 2 bags from her Jeep and hopped in. The boat was hitched up, and after a quick stop for propane, we hit the road. It took about half an hour to reach the lake, with Julie sitting up front with me. The girls got some terrible music going through their Bluetooth, and we started getting to know each other. Turned out, Julie ran her own insurance company and did financial planning. I stole glances at her during our chat. Man, she was cute. I imagined Sabs would resemble her mom when she got older. Despite looking much younger, Julie was only 3 years my junior. She stood at about 5 feet with light blonde hair down to her lower back and a nice tan. Her big brown eyes, high cheekbones, and heart-shaped face with a widow's peak and a broad forehead gave her a perfect look. She wore jeans and a button-up top, showcasing her slender figure. I didn't want to ogle her, so I waited until we reached the lake before really checking her out. We secured a spot to park the boat and the RV. They kicked me out while they changed, and I took care of hooking up the water. Once they were ready, I went inside, swapped into swim trunks and a t-shirt, and we were good to go. With a cooler filled with drinks, we set off. Leaving the no-wake zone, I picked up speed. We cruised a couple of miles down the lake, and the girls were eager to ski. They shed their long t-shirts, revealing their usual charming awkwardness. But Julie, she was on another level. She wasn't awkward at all. I said she was slender, but she was really petite. She had a feminine figure. When she turned to watch the girls, I was mesmerized. Her bikini wasn't super trendy, but it was struggling to cover a rear end that was impressive. It was small, round, firm, and stuck out like a shelf. When she caught me looking, she just smiled and winked. She had small breasts, but they looked just right on her. They didn't seem small. They looked perfect. Everything about her was like a tiny version of perfection. "Finished?" she asked, her smile softening the moment. Her teeth were perfect too. I chuckled. "For now. You know how you look, Julie? I'm a guy." She moved closer to me, finding a spot to chat while keeping an eye on the girls. We spent 3 hours water skiing, and Julie was really skilled. She took the wheel of the boat when it was my turn, and she was good at that too. I wasn't as skilled as either her or the girls. The physics just wasn't on my side, but I did okay. After returning to the campground, they put on wraps. Although the RV had a perfectly good stove, the girls wanted to cook outside. We set up the camp stove, and I started a fire in the grill on the site. While I grilled bratwursts, they chopped and fried potatoes and onions and opened cans of pork and beans. We had prepared some meals at home, but this was our first night, and camp cooking always tastes great. We sat at the picnic table provided by the campground, and it felt like we'd known each other forever. Julie became Jules, as the girls called her, and she liked it. She called me Ollie. The girls kept mentioning that Jules wasn't married, so I finally asked her why. "I mean, you're beautiful, funny, smart, and you have your own business. Why hasn't some guy swept you off your feet?" She paused for a moment. "Well, the main reason is Sabrina," she finally said. "I was young and foolish, Ollie. I was a senior in college when I found out I was pregnant, just a week before graduation. At the time, I thought I had found the love of my life. We had talked about getting married right after graduation. I guess that plan didn't work out, since you're talking about it in the past tense," I remarked. "No, it didn't. 3 days after I told Brad, I discovered he'd been cheating on me for a month. I ended things with him and never looked back. When Sabs was born, I was fully occupied with being a mom. Then, I got busy building my business. By the time I could even consider dating again, I realized I had this incredible gift from God in my life, and I couldn't make any decisions without considering her." "I understand," I said. "I feel the same way about Toby. As long as I have her, she comes first. I can't stress enough how important she is to me. She's the one who kept me sane over the last 18 months. Julie placed her small hand on my arm. "I know," she said softly. "She shares everything with Sabs and me. I'm so sorry, Ollie." "Yeah, sometimes life can be tough," we both sighed. Glancing up, we noticed 2 pairs of affectionate eyes focused on us. They were engaged in a quiet conversation, sitting under the shade of the awning in their camp chairs. "I love your daughter," I confessed. "It feels like she's almost a part of me, with all the time she spends with us." "She loves you too," Julie replied. "The other day she told me you're like the father she never had." Her eyes welled up and a tear rolled down her cheek. I gently wiped the tear away with my finger. "She's an amazing girl," I remarked. "Her mom must be something special to have raised her. She's incredibly courageous, doing it all on her own." Julie smiled through her teary eyes, stood up, kissed my cheek, and went to join the girls. We had an incredible weekend. As Julie was leaving, I approached her car and tapped on the window. Jules, would you consider going out with me next Friday? I asked. Sabrina squealed with excitement, and Julie flashed a smile. What time? How about 6? I suggested. We'll grab dinner and do something afterward. Sound good? Oh, and could Toby hang out with Sabs while we're out? Sounds perfect, and of course, she agreed, kissing my cheek before driving off. Toby was waiting for me at the door. Well, she inquired eagerly, did you ask her out? Did you kiss her? I hugged her and playfully smacked her bottom. Yes, I did. And that's for me to know and for you to stop prying into. She squealed with joy, echoing Sabrina's earlier excitement. I knew it! She's perfect for you, Dad. I adore her, and Sabs is like a sister to me. I shrugged. Whatever happens, happens, Toby. You can't force it. Stop trying to play matchmaker. She nuzzled into my chest. I know, Dad, but if I didn't nudge things along, you probably wouldn't have made a move. Not that I mind being the only lady in your life. I chuckled. Well, you'll always have a special place in my heart that no one else can touch. You're my baby, and that's never going to change. She purred contentedly for a moment, then went off to do her own thing. Our first date went smoothly. I took her to play racquetball. She was new to the game, but having played tennis before, she caught on quickly to the similar strokes. Once she got the hang of the rules and bouncing the ball off the walls, she was impressive. Her natural athleticism definitely gave her an edge. She was lightning fast and could change direction with ease, thanks to her petite frame. After finishing our game, we cooled down at a table outside the courts, sipping on drinks and resting. She grabbed her phone. Let's snap the kids, she suggested. We posed with our rackets and goggles, and she took a snap. They replied immediately, and we captured a great memory. Later, we both showered, and then I took her out to dinner. We indulged in some delicious Italian food, satisfying our appetites completely. As we finished our wine, Jules sat beside me in the booth, and we leaned back, chatting quietly and unwinding. It felt natural for me to put my arm around her, so I did. She scooted closer against me, flashing a warm smile. I couldn't help but think about how adorable she was, and I realized that her cuteness would endure as she got older. It was something that would stay with her. When we arrived at her house, she leaned in close to me, her eyes showing anticipation. I could sense she wanted me to kiss her, so I leaned in and did just that. Truth be told, I wanted to kiss her even more than she wanted me to. It was a lingering and delightful kiss. Her lips felt plush and soft, and she tasted like a mix of wine and cherry chapstick. As we pulled back, I noticed movement behind the curtains. Looks like we've got an audience, I remarked. She giggled, sounding a lot like her daughter. I'm not surprised. You know they're trying to set us up, don't you? Does that bother you? I inquired. She blushed. No, I like everything I've learned about you, Ollie. Same here, I replied. We should head inside before they open the curtains and see us. For 4 months straight, we went out every Friday, and with each outing, we grew closer. I wanted to take our relationship to the next level, but I didn't want to rush her. Our conversations were heating up towards the end, hinting at something more than friendship. I realized I enjoyed having her not just as a girlfriend, but also as a close friend. We were in constant communication, exchanging texts, snaps, and phone calls throughout the day. Whenever I stumbled upon something funny or interesting, I immediately thought of Jules and felt compelled to share it with her. Our bond deepened, and we became privy to each other's lives. We established a weekly tradition of having dinner together every Tuesday, and it became a cherished routine. We'd hang out, play games, and I found myself growing fond of Sabs almost as much as her mother. They shared many similarities, making it easy to know one if you knew the other. Though they had their differences, they were equally charming, and these disparities only highlighted their common traits. Life was good overall, but the persistent presence of Rachel remained a lingering annoyance. She was still part of Toby's life, which meant she was inevitably part of mine, too. I wanted nothing to do with her, and her presence always managed to irritate me. Every time she came around to pick up Toby or I dropped her off at her grandparents', she attempted to strike up a conversation. She was still living with them, having lost her job at the clinic, along with Jerry, and now working at another clinic across town. If Rachel got on my nerves too much, I'd casually bring up Jerry to shut her down. How long until you forgive me? She once asked during one of those moments. Forgive you? For what? I retorted. Last I checked, you don't even think you did anything wrong. Not once have I heard, I'm sorry, Oliver. I was wrong. I'm sorry I tried to make Toby think you were a liar. I'm sorry I attempted to take her away from you. Tried to screw you over in the divorce. And worst of all, I've never heard, I'm sorry I cheated and slept with that scumbag behind your back. I still didn't hear it then. She refused to take responsibility for her actions. I wasn't sure what forgiving her would even mean. I made peace with the situation and moved on. I didn't forget, but I wasn't going to waste time being bitter about it. People do stupid things. They have the right to leave you, divorce you, or end friendships, and you have to accept it and move forward. Shitty things happen every day. In the heat of the moment, I wanted to punish both cheaters, but I soon realized that their punishment was being themselves. They had to live with their actions. I planned to live with myself, which meant leaving the lies and betrayal behind and focusing on living my best life. Rachel was clearly unhappy, and I harbored no ill will toward Jerry, but I wasn't going to be the one to seek revenge. Let God or the universe handle it. I was done playing that game. She became even more miserable when she found out I was dating Jules. One night, when I dropped Toby off at her grandparents', Rachel approached me. "I heard you're dating the mother of one of Toby's friends," she said. I simply stared at her. "Is it true?" she pressed. "That's my concern," I replied. "The heck it is," she snapped back. "I'm your spouse. I deserve to be informed." "You've got nothing," I retorted. "You're not my spouse anymore. You found your true love and it wasn't me, remember? Then we got divorced. My affairs are no longer your concern and yours are none of mine. Back off, Rachel. Stay out of my business." I was furious as I left. Man, she just couldn't let it go. I vented to Toby about what went down. She was just as angry as I was. After that, I stopped dropping Toby off at her grandparents' place or Rachel picking her up from our house. Instead, Bob or Cindy, the grandparents, came to our place to pick her up. That relieved a lot of stress in my life. On the 7th-month anniversary of our lake trip, I took Jules out. We hit up a nice restaurant and then went to a club. Jules didn't drink much, just one beer or cocktail occasionally. But that night, she had two. I raised an eyebrow when she ordered the second. She chuckled. "Yep, feeling wild and crazy tonight, huh?" "You're perfect, just like always," I reassured her. "Do you really think so, Ollie?" She tilted her head to the side, a gesture she often made. "Because I think you're pretty perfect, too. If I'm so perfect, why haven't you asked me to stay over?" I must have looked surprised because she laughed. "Have you even thought about it?" I regained my composure. Yeah, Jules. I've thought of little else since that first day on the boat when I saw you in that bikini. When we started dating, I realized you were something different, something special, and I didn't want to pressure you or scare you off." "You won't scare me away," she assured. "I told the girls not to wait up." "Really? Well, why are we still here?" I inquired. "Oh my goodness, Jules, let's leave this place. Do you want to spend the night with me?" "More than anything else in the world, right now." She practically melted into me as we headed out, leaning her head on my shoulder and gripping my arm all the way home. I escorted her to the bedroom after we pulled into the garage, and she stayed close to my side. Turning her around at the foot of the bed, I kissed her. It was one of the most amazing kisses I'd ever experienced, and it seemed to go on forever. When we paused to catch our breath, she gazed up at me and I found myself lost in the warm, brown depths of her eyes. She wrapped her arms around my neck and met my gaze. "Make love to me, Oliver," she whispered. "I'm kind of scared." "Don't be," I reassured her. "I love you, Julie Barnes." "You know that, right?" "I thought so," she murmured, "but I needed to hear it." "I love you too, Oliver." I positioned myself over her, making sure not to put too much weight on her. "How many times have you done this?" I whispered in her ear. "3, she murmured, "but never like this." We fell asleep in each other's arms, and twice during the night, we made love again. Once when I initiated it, and once when she did. The next morning, I woke up lying on my back with her half sprawled over me, her hair covering us, and her cheek resting on my shoulder. I just watched her sleep, absent-mindedly playing with her hair until she opened her eyes. She snuggled closer and sighed. "I feel like I belong here, Ollie." "I know," I said. "Would you like to wake up here every morning?" She opened her eyes and gazed at me. "You mean, like, live together?" "No, sweetheart. Well, yes, but I mean, will you marry me, Julie Barnes?" She brought her little left hand up between our faces and wiggled her fingers. "Uh-oh," she said. "Something seems to be missing." "Hold that thought," I said, starting to get out of bed. "I'll hold the thought," she said. "But I can't hold something else. I need to pee so bad." I chuckled and playfully swatted her butt, making her squeal. "Go, then meet me back here." She dashed off, a little naked sprite, and I headed down to my office, making a pit stop myself. I retrieved what I needed from my safe, and when I returned, she was curled up under the covers. I climbed in and took her left hand again, looking into her eyes filled with love. Julie, will you marry me? I slid the ring onto her finger. It was too big, so we'd have to resize it, but it would do for now. She examined it closely. It's beautiful, she said. It looks old. Where did you get it? When did you get it? Remember when I mentioned going to an auction? I said. It was about a month ago. Yes, I remember. Wasn't it an estate auction? Yep. What I didn't tell you was I saw this ring in the catalog, and I went with the intention of buying it and asking you to marry me. It was made in England around 1810, for the Duchess of Avon. It has quite a history. Do you like it? I love it, she said. It's the prettiest ring I've ever laid eyes on. Are you going to answer my question? I asked. What? Oh, yes, Oliver, yes, I'll marry you. Oh my God, yes. I chuckled and hugged my fiancée tightly. We need to snap the girls, she said.